Andy Floyd, and you're watching episode 4 of the Ask Midwest Anxiety Show. So we're here at one of our favorites, Corner Bakery, episode 4. We spent a lot of time here, don't we? We got Kelsey, we got Michelle. Welcome back to the show, ladies. Welcome. Ask Midwest Anxiety Show. You know what this show's all about. It's just answering your question and giving you hopefully a lot of things to think about as we answer your questions. And so we just take questions and try to provide some answers to those. We know by watching this show that you may not get all of your all your questions answered, but hopefully it makes you start to think about different ways to kind of manage things in your life. So we've got another great show planned for today. Great questions. You know, as I'm thinking about today's Monday, we did that great episode on Monday. That Monday episode, we're gonna have to do it. But Monday, here we are. Thank goodness it's Monday. We got a lot of great things, Midwest Anxiety, we're doing right now. This being one of those. What else are you guys enjoying right now? Midwest Anxiety or in your own lives? What's going on?
Well, I'm excited for Labor Day weekend.
Labor Day.
Go visit my sister in Minneapolis. So I love the Twin Cities. That's where I did my undergrad. So excited.
Have some hot dish.
Yeah.
Minnesotans like their hot dish, don't they? Is that like
it's a casserole?
It's a casserole with like tater tots in it, or?
I think there's many hot dishes. Sounds good. Dishes.
So we're going to visit family. Yeah. Minnesota. Kelsey, what are you up to? What are you enjoying these days?
I'll be honest, I have to give a shout out to Santa Calagon Days of Independence.
When is that?
It happens every Labor Day weekend, and it is a huge festival, and I've gone since I can remember. It's awesome.
Santa Calagon.
A lot of good food, obviously.
So deep fried Twinkies and
Oreos, corn dogs. Oh yeah, you name it, they've got it. Cheesesteak on
deep fried.
Cheesecake on a stick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Santa Calagon.
Oh yeah.
In Independence, I guess.
Independence, Missouri. Yeah.
All right. Football starts this weekend. College football. All right. Rock Chalk Jayhawk. So excited for football. NFL's right around the corner. A lot of fall festivals. I think we're already talking about hitting some of those festivals, so we'll be out and about. So really excited about that. So with the fall comes a lot of new energy and excitement around new things. So I think we're going to talk a little bit about being overwhelmed and stuff today.
Yes.
Yeah. Who's got the first question? Let's get into the show.
Let's get into it. So we hear a lot of people struggling with intrusive and negative thoughts. So what could people do to help manage those thoughts? Yeah.
Good question. CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, one of the things we talk about are thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, thoughts being a third of that at least. A lot of times these thoughts come in our head and we're like, I wish they would just stop, and so it's kind of like when you start thinking about them, they just keep happening again, it's kind of like that pink elephant in the room. And so with intrusive thoughts, you start thinking something, it just keeps happening. And so a lot of times what I think about when I think about intrusive thoughts is don't worry about like the thoughts coming in your head, because we can't necessarily stop those thoughts. We can't be like, oh, nope, you're not coming in, no way, no, you're not coming in. It's like, okay, now what happens after they enter my head? Like, what am I going to do? And I think what I do is a lot of kind of managing in those things. So I think the first step may be not to kind of think about, they can't come in my head. It's going to be more about, okay, now that they're in my head, what am I going to do? And I'm going to just better manage them. And so because of that, I think that's the first thing. Now, if I go a little bit further here, I start thinking about OCD. And a lot of people with OCD with kind of these intrusive thoughts, sometimes they start thinking about, now they're in my head. And sometimes these intrusive thoughts around OCD, they can be weird, kind of strange thoughts too, and then people start really feeling bad for those thoughts. And so I think sometimes we just got to really look at these thoughts are in my head and that kind of stuff, but I don't know necessarily how to kind of get rid of them. But one of the first ways I can start getting rid of them is just to kind of accept that they're in my head, and that I'm just going to then kind of go and be like, okay, well, now that they're in my head, I'm not going to listen to that thought, And so I think that's one of the first things that I would encourage is just don't worry about that you're having all these intrusive thoughts. Just accept that you are having these thoughts, and that when you're having these thoughts, okay, now what can I do to have these thoughts? So I don't know if you girls have thought about anything else around intrusive thoughts, but that's kind of my first thought about it.
Yeah, and I think with CBT, we talk a lot about irrational versus rational thoughts, and sometimes it can be hard to identify if I'm having a rational or irrational thought. And so what I like to do is change that question to, is it helpful or is it unhelpful? And so say I go to an interview and I'm constantly thinking, oh my gosh, did I do good? Did I not do well? I should have said this, I should have said that. Well, that's over and done with, and it's not helpful for me to obsess over that. And so I try to push that out of my head and try to think of more helpful things moving forward.
Yeah. So is it helpful or hurtful?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I kind of go along with something you said, Randy, when those thoughts come into our heads and we're kind of like, man, where did that come from? And gosh, it's kind of a weird one, or that's kind of scary, or I wish I would just stop. And, I feel like we're so much more than our thoughts. Our thoughts, like, we don't necessarily ask for them to be in our heads. They kind of just come in, and that's what our brains do, they think. So if we can say, like, I'm not my thoughts, and just kind of let them move through and not identify all of who we are and kind of feel that bad feeling. When you do that, I think that creates a lot more freedom. Like, there's a thought, thinking, and that's not who I am.
So maybe to take a step back from it, just to create some distance between you and that thought. And sometimes I think when we start having thoughts, we kind of start it kind of starts spiraling. So being able to kind of take a step back and refocus and separate yourself from it. That seems like a good, and then being able then to kind of step back from it, and then, okay, what do I do from there? And there are a variety of strategies that we all can do for that. So sounds really good. I think our goal just would be in thinking about intrusive thoughts, and there can be so many different ways that we think negatively, is just to take that step back and understand sometimes that those thoughts come in our head and we don't have to identify with them. I think that gives us power and confidence overall to be able to say, my environment doesn't have to control me, but I can control, kind of the way that I am in that environment. So.
And what would be helpful? Like Kelsey was saying, like, what would be something more helpful I could do instead of judging myself or really getting down on myself and obsessing more? It's like, what else?
Yeah. Good.
Cool.
Question 2. Who's got question 2?
I've got question 2.
Yeah.
So we were talking about fall, and we were talking about all these new things starting, football, activities, and I think when new things start and there's all these new beginnings, it can be kind of overwhelming. And so we wanted to talk a little bit about it. Randy, and start us out talking about how to deal with that overwhelm.
Yeah. Well, I think the cool thing about this is in our lives, while we feel sometimes like all these things in our life are overwhelming, I really go back to, and this is something that I've said before, is that we get to choose how we're going to be in those situations. And a lot of times we feel like our environment causes us to be that way and feel overwhelmed. But the reality is we can have our schedule so scheduled out where it's like we can't even take a breath, or I can't eat lunch, or I can't, or oh my gosh, I'm running. And while that is true, now we're mindful in those situations. How can we be mindful of, okay, now I feel overwhelmed and what can I do? And I think sometimes we celebrate or we don't celebrate how we actually do in those situations. We actually feel sometimes like I'm so overwhelmed, but it's like, oh my gosh, I really did all this stuff today, and that feels fantastic that I did that. Sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, I did all this, and I'm just so tired, I'm exhausted. Mm-hmm. So I think sometimes we kind of have to put the shoe on the other foot and really kind of take a step back and go, wow, I felt overwhelmed, but I did all this stuff. And so I think being able to think about it yourself and sometimes and again, really being able to manage all the stresses of our world, sometimes how do we kind of take that and go, okay, well, I felt overwhelmed today, but I did this and I did that. So I think right now, kind of feeling overwhelmed might be, hopefully things go well in these things that I do. And so having said that, sometimes really just accepting that you feel overwhelmed and things may go well or they may not go so well, but they're going to go. And I think that they're going to go in whatever way. And then really just being able to take a step back and yourself be like, I'm going to get through them. I know Mondays are always one of those times where we've got all this stuff, these to-dos on our list, and I got to get all these done. And Mondays can maybe feel more overwhelming than a Friday, because a Friday is like, oh, okay, now I get time to kind of sit back. Well, I don't know. Sometimes Fridays going into the weekend for some families might feel overwhelming too. But I think just taking a step back and thinking about that we all have things in our life that we do, and we get to manage how those things are in our lives is a good feeling. So, yeah.
And I like both reflecting on how I've done and how far I've come, and also reminding myself of the purpose of where I'm going and the reason that I'm taking all of these steps to get there. So having a balance of looking back, reflecting on the have-dones and the to-dos and the purpose of it.
Yeah. The to-dos sometimes can outweigh the dones, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they can outdo that. And if we just kind of think back and go, I'm putting these into my life, right? Like we were talking earlier, we were talking about like Mondays, getting up and saying, I got out of bed and I got to go to work today. That can feel a little overwhelming, but the opposite is true too. Like it would feel overwhelming if we didn't have work and we stayed in bed. You know, it could feel overwhelming. And so remember, we get to put these things in our life. So question 3. What do you think? Question 3?
Yeah. Question 3. Our third question. How do you get started in therapy?
It's a great question, and when that therapy word comes up, I always like to kind of just take a moment and really just emphasize that there's many ways of therapy. You know, psychotherapy is one of those ways, and really when you're in psychotherapy, I think that can be a more formalized way of getting started, you know, than just, you know, when we talk about music therapy or pet therapy, and I know there's probably formalities to that too. Should we speak of psychotherapy, of how to get started in psychotherapy?
Specific for that.
Yeah, so I think maybe the first thing to get started in psychotherapy is just really kind of opening yourself up to that, hey, I not only do I struggle in areas, I have strengths, and when I want to know more about myself, not only kind of with my struggles, but my strengths, and just kind of opening yourself up to that idea that I want to have this kind of self-exploration, and I don't know necessarily how to do that. I maybe have read some things, maybe start out by just reading a self-help book or something, but I really think overall it's that you just start to open yourself up to this idea that you want to explore both your struggles and your strengths. And I think part of when we talk about Midwest Anxiety, about psychotherapy, it's that idea of just really trying to normalize this self-exploration and understanding that just all the things that we've got going on in our life, that we need to have, it'd be good to have some skills in various areas. So just trying to help normalize and open yourself up to the idea of maybe I just need some help and some help and some professional help of guidance to be able to kind of steer me in certain directions. So I think there's a variety of ways about trying to determine what's the best fit for therapists and all that. But I just kind of want to emphasize to everyone that just the idea of opening yourself up and accepting that maybe you need some help, both with your strengths and struggles, is a good place to get started. And then after that, obviously, the formality of trying to find someone and all that. But first step is always to just open yourself up.
And sometimes that can be the hardest step.
Yeah.
So getting to that point is huge, and the success, like we talked about.
Yeah.
Just knowing that taking that first step can lead to a lot of really great things to come.
Yeah. I think it can be helpful when you're looking for a psychotherapist to just kind of maybe talk to anyone you trust if they've worked with someone that they've benefited from. But I think giving people a call if you're kind of Googling or looking for therapists in the area, and just asking to talk with them for a couple minutes, or just asking some questions about how they work, or sometimes just hearing someone's voice and having a couple minutes on the phone, and then can be really useful in knowing if that would be someone that you could journey with in this kind of self-exploration. So I know that we're happy to do that here, and I think other psychotherapists are happy to just talk for a couple minutes like that, so that you can have a better idea of if some of their personality or ways they work, if that would match up with you. And I think that's okay and important to find someone that you can feel comfortable with.
It's a journey.
It's a journey.
It's a journey.
It is. It's a good way to
It's a journey, and I think for all of us, we have to understand that wherever it is wherever we are in our lives, that there's these times where it doesn't go so well, and it goes well other times, and this is what life's all about. And we use family and friends and professionals in so many different ways. So in saying that, I really like this Ask Russ Anxiety show, and hopefully for those that are watching this, really value and understand that life has a lot of complexities, and hopefully this question or what we're saying here may set with you. And so if you guys have questions for us, feel free on social media, email us, call us, whatever it is. We love to really connect with people in a variety of different ways and really help them along in those ways. So this has been good. Episode, what is this, 4 now? 4 at the Corner Bakery. We got 5 coming up Thursday. We're going to be at Shawnee Mission Park on Thursday. Love Shawnee Mission Park. Who knows, we may get down to the pond. I know there's a tower at Shawnee Mission Park. We're going to be doing that on Thursday, so definitely join us then. I think we're missing one thing, the question of the day. What was that, the QOTD, the question hashtag QOTD. Question of the day. Kelsey's got the question of the day today. So
I do.
What is the question of the day?
So, probably just like everyone else, super excited about fall and going into fall. But before we get to fall, I want to know what people enjoyed about their summer, their favorite memory about summer.
Favorite memory about summer. That means summer's coming to an end?
Pretty soon, yeah.
It means fall's starting?
I love fall.
So it's all, one season ends, one season starts.
That's right.
Circle of life.
The circle of life. So favorite the summer. We did lots of things this summer. We went to Cancun for a little while this summer. Summer is all about getting out and enjoying the weather. Barbecue, friends, family. Yeah. So, what is the favorite summer activity? Huh? Mm-hmm. Michelle, you got any summer activities?
I think my favorite memory from summer was I went back to Wisconsin, where I'm from, over the 4th of July, and that was really fun to see the family. We sat out on the patio, and it was just really relaxing.
Fun?
Just really relaxing. Yeah.
Well, guys, appreciate you watching. You keep asking us the questions. We'll keep answering them. Take care.
I didn't know what that was.